moving into the future. And as time went on, I actually embarked on a journey of personal development through these challenges. And I thought, who am I? What am I going to do with my life? And by actually taking the time to work on myself, in terms of really finding out who I am and what I stood for, I actually found my purpose. And my purpose was very much to empower others. And through that journey, that's essentially how my marketing consultancy business was born, really at looking at how can I use my resources, my skills, to educate and inspire other individuals, business owners, and other individuals. And my business started from there. Over the years, over the last 6 years, I have refined it and tweaked it to get it to where it is today. But it was very much a journey along the way that I was learning and growing while I was supporting others on that journey and helping others along the way.
No, no, brilliant. Was there a lot of soul searching when you started your business?
There was a lot of soul searching. It came to a point where I kind of had to ask myself, where am I at, and do I really know what my sole purpose in this life? We've got one shot. You want to make it count, and it was very much that. It took months of reading, doing online courses, attending seminars here in Melbourne, Australia, but also flying interstate to places like Sydney and Brisbane within Australia to hear amazing speakers and, what they had discovered along the way and how I could have followed the same process and kind of gone, okay, if they have learned this and they have done this in their life, I can take that learning and actually implement it in my own life and, achieve the results that I'm after. So yeah, it was.
No, brilliant. Also, personal development. I think a lot of business owners don't look at that and don't pay much attention on personal development. How important was that for your progress of your business and yourself as a person?
Yeah, so personal development, at the time when I actually stepped into that, I think I didn't fully understand the extent that it had in my life. I was so kind of looking for answers, looking for direction. But, now that I've been on the journey for, quite a long time and I'm very open to always thinking, we should be open to learning because we should be lifelong learners.
Absolutely.
Personal development is very important from the aspect of really knowing who you are as an individual. So, and also knowing that how our mind, responds to things. So it's one thing to say, oh, I had a gut feeling, or I kind of think like that. But personal development is actually diving deep into the intricate parts of going, why did I behave like that? Why did I give that respond? Why am I choosing to go down this path as opposed to this path? So really taking the time to work out, okay, which part and how is this going to lead me on my journey, really taking account of that. So I think if you start on that journey of, it might start with reading a book, it might start with going to a little doing an online course or something like that, but you'd be pleasantly surprised as to how much we can really explore on how we behave, how we react, but also how we can make a slight change to something, and then that could shift the path completely and the outcome.
No, no, brilliant on that. What does a business owner mean to yourself? So before
Um,
you had your own business, you were in a corporate job, which you
yep,
left.
yep. So for me, it was, I think when I first started, it was very much about going, okay, I want to get into business for freedom. There is that whole, I want freedom, I want to make a difference. I think that was, I didn't really understand that to some capacity, because when you start a business, you are working 10 times harder
Yes.
than, what I ever worked. When I worked the 9 years before that in finance, I was working way harder. And I think I'm still working in terms of, if you were to look at working hours or, how I work, I probably work a lot harder. The difference is I am really fulfilled doing what I'm doing because I know this is what I'm passionate about. This is what I'm really driven about, and I'm motivated without any external factors. It's not like, oh, if you do this, you can go on holiday, or if you do this, you'll get this. It's like, well, everything I do really makes me happy, and that's why even with this time difference, I was like, no worries, I'll get up and I'll jump on there and have a conversation, because it's not a
Fantastic.
task. It's I'm excited to be on here and share with the audience and connect with yourself and the others. So I'm like, it doesn't matter what the time difference is in Melbourne versus in the UK. So yeah.
No, no, I'm sure you got brilliant things to share with us. And as you said, you know, time difference for yourself doesn't make a difference on there. It's about people
Yeah.
learning from, what they can learn from yourself, what you've done in your life, the
Yeah.
experiences that you've been through, and the
Yeah.
problems that you've overcome. What has been your greatest influence in business?
So if I was to say overall, it was actually making sure I followed a mentor. So really taking the time to recognize that I was not skilled in every aspect and I needed help, and reaching out and having a mentor. If I was to put kind of like my finger on one thing and say that was the turning point, or that was the influence, it was definitely having a mentor guide me through certain elements in business, but also steer that path so you can stay on the course and achieve those results that you want to achieve.
Mm, what would you say has been your greatest professional accomplishment to date?
So that would come to the publishing side of the business. Really, with the publishing work that we do for aspiring authors, it is really seeing their story come to life. So, when we often start a conversation, they'll say to me, Samantha, I want to write a book. I want to share my story. I want to help people through my book and my journey. And then we go down the path, we do what needs to get done, and then 3 months later, this book is here, and their story is printed, and it goes into hundreds and hundreds of copies of print. And it is really generally, if I get invited to a local book launch and I see that author standing there, and they share their story holding their book and going, this is what this book is about. And I get to stay at the back of the room and go, wow, you're really going to use your story to inspire, motivate and educate others to make a difference. And the fact that we have contributed, in just that little way of bringing the book to life, I feel like, okay, I've done my part, in helping more people. So yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Also, listeners, if they want to contact us, you can either email us on studio@slamradio.co.uk, text or WhatsApp us on 07745 278 978, or they could ring the studio on 01733 602 133. Samantha, you just mentioned regarding writing your book on there. What was your book? What was your book about?
Okay, so my very first book that I personally wrote was called No Qualifications, No Excuses. And the book was very much about a little bit about my journey on how I started a business with no traditional marketing degrees or qualification. I'm going to confess that live on air. So when I actually started my marketing business, I actually don't come with a marketing degree or any kind of certification in marketing. It was very much a test and measure, and really using a lot of market research and then following a set of processes through and refining that as we went along. So my traditional backgrounding as a background in education was in marketing or sales. It was more fashion designing and the analytical side of things. So yeah, very different to what I'm doing now. And I wanted to actually give people a practical guide on you don't yes, with some industries you need qualifications, but with obviously depending on the industry, you can get started and then start gaining the skills on the job kind of thing. You get in there and you start learning and doing and learning and doing, and you keep progressing till you reach that first goal, and then from there you start refining it. So yeah, No Qualifications, No Excuses was the book. And then most recently we've done a book called The Influential Author, which is about how to write a book and leverage the book from an author perspective.
Your book, No Qualification, No Excuses, is about how you overcame your personal battles where no one believed you would succeed. Can you
Yes.
give insights on how you invested in yourself and caused yourself through the hard, what you went through, the hard times between yourself and the mistakes that you made that cost you a lot of money?
Definitely. So the starting point was really coming down to asking myself, what is it that I want at the end? Is it freedom? Is it money? Because when you start a business, you got to make money to pay the bills and
Absolutely, yeah.
keep your head above water, as I call it. Um, but it was very quickly I learned that sometimes you just got to take a risk. Trust your own self-belief, because when you're first starting out in business, not everyone within your immediate family or your loved ones or your friends are going to actually see eye to eye and support you on that. It can be a little bit challenging, and depending on their views in life, they might go, oh, I don't know, it's a big risk. It's really, really, if I can give readers a few tips on how to push forward, it would be really, number one, just back yourself up. Really, it's really important to have self belief and back yourself up. Yes, you're probably going to make mistakes, and that is bound to happen somewhere down the long somewhere down the journey, but it's really, really crucial to kind of go, I've made this decision, I'm going to follow through. Number two is make sure that you surround yourself with one or two people that are on that journey. So having someone either as a mentor or someone as a friend or someone through another network that can really guide you a little bit. They don't necessarily have to give you the pathway, but kind of go, I've got your back. Keep in contact with you, check in on you, and make sure you're tracking. Okay, that's really, really important, because the journey of a business owner can be quite challenging and can be quite lonely. So you really want to have one or two people that are on that journey with you, regardless of their industry in their business. That's really important. And number three is, when you're making mistakes, I always say, and this sounds pretty harsh sometimes, but if you're making mistakes, make them quickly and move on. So it's a bit like when you think of a child, when a child's learning to run, they fall. They have to pick themselves up pretty quickly, dust off any sand, or and then keep going, right? Because if you just stop there, a child's never gonna walk or run again. So it's a bit like that. You kind of go, if I make a mistake, I've got to pick myself up and do something different and do something else, and then keep going, because that's really important. And it's, I think, from what I have seen with a lot of business owners, often when they fall or when there's a challenge, they take a long time to recover, and that's what sort of sets them back. So I would encourage listeners, depending on where you're at in that stage, if a challenge occurs, embrace it, go, okay, this is where I'm at, I'm going to deal with this head on, and keep moving forward. It's absolutely crucial.
I'm curious, after you wrote your book, what was your journey experience once you wrote the book?
Yeah, so writing the book was very moving. I was able to share my message, obviously, on a larger scale with a large group of people. It was then, the book actually became like a resource for me to get a conversation started. And that's why I say to a lot of aspiring authors, like, oh, your book is your conversation starter. It's a bit like your new business card, where you hand someone a book and say, yeah, well, this is what I do. Here's a copy of the book. Have a read of it. If you've got any questions, let's have a conversation. From the book, that actually really boosted my credibility along the way. And since then, so I've done two self-published books, which are my own, and then I've contributed to 8 other books, where it's one chapter each. And that has been from mindset to business, to lifestyle, really
Brilliant.
understanding the psychology of how we behave, why we react, and also inspiring people to really pursue what it is that they want in their life. Really being very clear on, this is something that makes me happy. I want to share that, and I want to make a big impact. So publishing my book, No Qualifications, No Excuses, and that was a few years ago. That was actually the starting point of my journey, where I was able to impact more people on a larger scale, as opposed to the one-to-one conversations or the little workshops that we run here in Australia.
Becoming a published author, can it help improve your personal credibility, your business credibility, and your brand clarity? Your brand,
Definitely.
sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the fastest ways to boost your credibility, build trust, and really connect with the author. Because when we pick up a book, we feel a sense of connection, right? We pick up the book and we hold it in our hand, and we go, oh, that's what it is. And then we turn the back cover and we read a little bit about the back cover. And then we flick inside and we kind of flick through the pages. And that's sort of, I often say to people, that's that immediate connection, because there is that touch of going, oh, this is the book, this is written by so and so. And that initial touch point is sort of, where someone forms that first point of connection, and then the trust builds as you read the book. So absolutely, having a book really seals the deal in terms of building trust, credibility, but also leveraging it from a business perspective, and boosting your individual personal brand and profile.
Hi Sam, it's Shaz here. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. I know there's a big time difference between where you are and where we are, so we do appreciate the effort you've made. You're talking about writing books, and having spoken to people, everybody kind of has at least a book in them, I find, but they don't know where to start. So what would your advice be for somebody who thinks they have a book in them but doesn't know where to start?
Yeah, definitely. Look, if they have been thinking about, I want to share my story, I think it's going to impact some lives, change some businesses, your starting point would be really asking yourself the question of, why am I writing the book? Like, what's the purpose behind the book? Because sometimes a book is something on someone's bucket list, and on another side of it, it is very much a marketing tool and you want to leverage it. So the first question I would ask an aspiring author is, what's the purpose of the book? And then depending on their response, if they say, look, I've always wanted to write a book, I want to write it, then it's asking them, is that because it's been on your bucket list or somebody's encouraged you to? And then depending on that answer, then there's a conversation that follows. But if it is someone that is in business and says, look, I've always heard about, writing a book to leverage my status, my credibility, and build trust, then absolutely the book is the starting point. And then it comes down to going, how committed are you to following through over the next few months? Because with self-publishing, you can bring your book to life in about 3 months. It's not a very long process. It's a very effective, fairly quick process if you know what you want out of the book. And then someone like myself, a publisher, we have that conversation with an author and say, hey, what is it that you want to write about? How can we support your journey? And then take you on that journey, supporting you along the way. So yeah, the starting point is definitely going, what is the core purpose of the book, and what you want to achieve as a long-term goal. So with our authors, sometimes they say, I'm writing the book, I actually want to build a speaker profile. So I want to leverage who I am and my story out of becoming, a national speaker or an international speaker. To some, they're like, well, we want to use the book a bit like a new, our business card. We want to hand it out and say, this is what we do, contact us and let's have a conversation. And then to others, it's just a starting point where they go, I've published a book, this is what I do, and get the conversation started. So it really, really depends on the individual and the direction they want to go.
So basically, you're saying it's important to have crystal clarity on the purpose and the objective before you actually put pen to paper, which is good advice. And once somebody's written the book and they've gone down the self-publishing route, what would your tips be in terms of marketing that book?
Marketing, definitely social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, depending on other platforms they might be on. We personally, from a business aspect, we leverage Facebook and LinkedIn. So I would definitely say you want to be leveraging the book online using social media to build your credibility, through video, but also through general content engagement. And then in terms of offline, it could be joint ventures, but also looking at someone that can help you with distribution in bookstores in your local area or online, using Amazon, Kindle. That's something we support our authors with. So we definitely do the whole Kindle edition. But if they're looking on a larger scale, well, we want to be in so many bookstores and we want to do this, then we support them on that and really say, let's leverage it to full capacity, whether that's offline marketing or through social media.
Fantastic. And from all the experience that you have, what do you think are the key components which makes a book good?
Okay. So when it comes to a book, the starting, I think, point, it's almost like a three-part process. So depending on what the book is about, I go, what makes a book really, really stand out is how the reader connects in that first few pages. And I often say you really want to grab them from a place of helping them emotionally. So regardless of whether it's a business book or, like a self-motivational book or something to inspire people, you really want to impact the reader within those first few pages to kind of keep them reading. And then from there on, it's asking yourself if you're on, if our listeners are currently in the process of thinking of writing a book or they want to, remember that the book is the starting point and there could be something after. So for example, if you're looking at, leveraging the book as a speaker or as a writer or someone that might do a course down the track, you want to plant the seeds along the way for the reader to kind of hear about the fact that, along this story, one of the things that we do is workshops or consulting or retreats or whatever that might be. So you're planting the seed along the way. And then lucky last, it's really important that the story is written from a perspective of really triggering emotions and thinking patterns for the reader, as opposed to getting hung up in, I suppose, that headspace that you're in. Because sometimes as writers or as authors, if they want to call themselves that, we want to give all that is in our head, right? We want to kind of, I say, have like a download. Okay, this is all in my head. I want to put it in my book. But we want to really think about the reader. We want to think about how are they going to feel? Where are they at mentally and emotionally? And we want to bear that in mind through that process a little bit, because we don't want to overwhelm the reader. We want to inspire them. We want to leave a mark, leave an impression on them, that they're going to reach out and then say, that was an incredible book. I really want to connect with the author. I want to send them an email. So it is taking the reader on like a 3-part journey, that connection, that information, and then reaching out, through the content, reaching out and saying, hey, reach out and connect with us, and feed them those little snippets without overwhelming. That's absolutely crucial.
Fantastic. You've made an important point there, I believe, about creating connection in the first few pages and creating impact. How does one go about creating impact?
Yeah, so creating impact from a marketing perspective, we use that in the book. And the first point in 2 parts. One impact point could be really talking about where that person might be. So whether it's a business book or it's a self-motivational book, really thinking about where is the reader's headspace at. So if they might be going through some personal challenges or business challenges in general, and this book is obviously a motivation and inspiration book, you would actually frame that first chapter very much based on emotions. So really tapping into the reader's emotions and connecting on that level. And then the second part on there is actually telling the story from a third party perspective, rather than saying, for example, it might flow along the lines, as I was on that journey, these were the things I encountered, and something you want to pay attention to is A, B, and C, as opposed to just storytelling. I did this and then I did this and then I felt like this and I felt like that. Well, how do I connect with that? I can't. So it's very much based on emotions and knowing your reader. I often say to
Sam, we're just going to go on a break. It's a very short break, and we will join you back after the break, and you can answer that question. It's been brilliant so far, and join you after this short break.
Okay.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
Thinking about iftar? So are those who have nothing to break their fast with. Feed a fasting person at Masjid Al-Aqsa for just £6 a day, or give a family a whole month's supply of food for just £65 in a country of your choice. Make a difference to someone's life this Ramadan and earn multiple rewards from Allah. Now is the time to give. Visit humanappeal.org.uk or call 0161 225 0225.
Salam Radio and Penny Appeal present an evening of Qawwali, a tribute to Ustad Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, a live performance by Chand Ali Khan Qawwal and Party, and Mushaira and Ghazals in aid of building water wells in Pakistan. Sunday 29th of April, doors open at 6 p.m. at the Gladstone Park Community Centre, Borge Boulevard, Peterborough, PE1 2AN. Tickets are £10. Contact Kasim on 07722 55884 or email info@salamradio.co.uk. That's The Qawwali Show, Sunday 29th of April, doors open at 6 p.m. at the Gladstone Park Community Centre, Bourge Boulevard, Peterborough.
Need car parts quickly and at a great price? City Auto Parts offer competitive prices, trade accounts and a delivery service in and around Peterborough. For all your parts and accessories requirements, visit City Auto Parts, 30 Fitzwilliam Street, Peterborough, PE1 2RX. Call us on 01733 347711 or visit www.cityautoparts.co.uk.
Hate crime is a serious matter. Hate crime is a serious matter. It is important to report all incidents to give the best chance of prevention. If you're a victim or witness of any hate crime or incident, you can report it easily online at peterborough.gov.uk/hate crime. It only takes around 10 minutes and there's no waiting in line. You can choose whether to give your name or a further statement to the police. Please report any incident of hate, whether a victim or witness. As always, for emergencies, please dial 999. For non-emergency, please dial 101. Hate crime. Together, we can stop it.
Need a great place to chill out? Look no further than The Lounge for quality food and drinks at a great price. Try our varied menu: pasta, seafood, burgers, grills, salad, soup, rice and sides. Also hot and cold drinks, milkshakes and mocktails. Leave room for our exquisite desserts. The Lounge, 417 Lincoln Road, Peterborough. Call 01733 709 306 to order for delivery. The Lounge, friendly service with a great atmosphere.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillah. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إن الله لا ينظر إلى صوركم وأموالكم ولكن ينظر إلى قلوبكم وأعمالكم. That Allah does not look towards your appearance and your wealth, but rather He looks towards your heart and your actions.
If you want to learn about Islam and Muslims, stay tuned to Salam Radio 106.2 FM.
Welcome back. You're listening to Salam Radio on 106.2 FM and Inspire FM on 105.1 FM. This is the Empower Hour show. I'm your host Shaz Nawaz, and I have in the studio with me Mohammed Haseeb, who is my co-host. The purpose of our show is to inspire, motivate and empower you to achieve bigger and better things in your life. And we do that by inviting world-leading authorities who share their knowledge, experience and expertise. And tonight is no exception. If you'd like to ask any questions, you can do so by emailing the studio on studio@salamradio.co.uk. You can text and WhatsApp us on 077 45 278 978, or you can send us a message through WhatsApp. I'm delighted to have Samantha Jansen with us, who is an author, a publicist and a marketing specialist all the way from Australia. Welcome back, Samantha.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. We really do appreciate it. Just before the break, you were talking about how to add impact and how to create connection, which was a very important point. Do you have anything further to add?
No, I think we covered all of that. So really about focusing on the reader. If I was to sum it up, it is definitely focusing on the reader and where they're at emotionally, and connecting with content that actually serves them on a larger scale, and showcasing that in that first few pages, first few chapters. Very important.
Yeah, absolutely, because I think people usually browse through the contents page. They may look at the author's profile, and if that's enticing and interesting and intriguing, then they may read the first few pages. So if you don't grab them by then, or you lose their attention, they probably won't bother investing their time and reading the rest of the book, where you may have some really, golden nuggets.
Exactly. Yeah. So you've got to very much connect with them in that, that first instant. You've only got one shot, and you've got to get it right. So definitely.
Absolutely. You said earlier on that when you make mistakes and you come across challenges, it's important to try and get over them very quickly, because sometimes people end up holding on to those bad experiences for too long. Do you have any particular tips on how people can get over those challenges and failures?
Yeah, so it would be sort of one tip. The one thing I asked myself, and look, I'm gonna say 6 years in business, and there are still mistakes that I make, because I'm a lifelong learner, right? But one thing I always ask myself, if I make a bad choice or I make a mistake, I ask myself, what did you learn there, Samantha? What was the learning? And there's always a learning. Sometimes people go, but what do you mean? That was such, a tricky situation or a really challenging one. And I go, there is always either a hidden learning or a direct learning that you can get. And it's really important to pay attention to that so you don't make that mistake again. Really, really important. So I think regardless of whether that's, a mistake that impacts you on a personal level or an emotional level or financially, it's always asking yourself, what did I learn there? So you don't ever do it again. And that's probably one of the key things that I would love to share with our listeners.
Fantastic. Some of our listeners are running and managing small businesses, and sometimes they're startups. And as you can appreciate, they have a very small marketing budget. And seeing that you're a marketing expert, if somebody has a very small marketing budget, let's say £3,000 or 3,000 Australian dollars, what's the best way of spending it in your experience?
Okay, so and that is something that I hear very often. So it is a very common situation to be in for startups and small businesses. And my first thing would be is before you spend any money on marketing, really, really, really important for you to really define your target audience. So when I say defining your target audience, really knowing what they're like, how they behave, and how they would react. Those are 3 key points. Once you understand that, yes, I would say from a marketing background, social media is something you should be leveraging. If you've not started using social media as a marketing platform and as a tool, you're missing out on really connecting with your audience and generating leads. Social media will work. When I'm talking social media, I'm really talking Facebook, LinkedIn, to be quite honest with you, because those are 2 very strong dominating platforms. What I would say is it's really, really important that you talk to your audience in a certain way through content. So really, really focusing on the content and then looking at putting paid marketing campaigns at the back of that. So rather than kind of going, okay, this is our budget, this is what we're going to do, we're going to run some Facebook ads or some LinkedIn campaigns. It's like, well, no. Let's pull back. Let's look at what our audience is looking for and then invest in smaller groups where, you'll have a smaller ad campaign spend to connect with them and then get them into your database or opting in, whatever you might call that, and then feed them through email marketing and other forms of marketing. So don't put all your marketing budget into one. Divide that into 2 or 3 different components. So it might be social media marketing, it might be offline marketing, because as much as, yes, I'm saying Facebook, LinkedIn, depending on your business type, offline marketing will, still be working. For example, I have clients that do radio advertising and it works really, really well for them. If they're a service-based provider that is not location-based, then of course radio advertising works. Depending on what their business is, it's really important to really know your target audience and always bear in mind before you invest those dollars into a marketing campaign, going, where are they? Are they on radio listening while they're driving their cars? Are they more on Facebook? Are they a combination of both? What about in local shopping centers where you might have, little pop-up stores? So you really need to be thinking about the target audience before you kind of pick to go, I'm going to put all my money on social media. Yes, they're going to be on there, but there are other forms that you can, really reach out and connect with them as well, and then build a relationship over social media through retargeting on Facebook or LinkedIn and that sort of thing.
And I guess that's going to be fairly inexpensive compared to some of the old traditional forms of marketing.
Definitely. I think when you really super clear on where your target audience is, you don't necessarily have to kind of go down that path of going, oh, I'm going to spend all this money and hope in that hope phase of going, oh, I hope it works. Well, if you know your target audience and you kind of go, well, actually, I can target them when they're at their local shopping center, then do that. And then you can do a smaller campaign on social media and then retarget them and capture them that way. So you do have that opportunity to have multiple different platforms, but really leverage your business and brand, and then capture their attention through different forms: video, as I said, social media, and then your offline strategies as well. And something I guess to always think about is consider joint ventures as well. People often think, oh, I'm just a newbie, how can I cross promote or have a joint venture marketing campaign with one of the bigger establishments that have been running for a little while? And I say, you'd be surprised as to how many large established businesses would love to add a complimentary service or a product from a startup business. So don't be afraid to reach out and ask a larger company on how you can add some value to their clients while building your brand awareness in the process. Last year, we actually had a local business that was doing beautiful organic bread and, those sort of things, actually partner up with a local car dealership. And people were like, what? This local business that does these beautiful breads and slices, very much like a little bakery, partnered up with a car dealership. And they were a startup business, and the car dealership had been in business for, I think, coming up to about 15 years. And they were like, that's an odd combination. And I said, you'd be pleasantly surprised that how much that car dealership valued that joint partnership, because as opposed to giving everyone a bottle of wine and some chocolates when they buy a car, they were happy to give people a hamper that people can enjoy some beautiful products that they're going to use in their household over the next 2 to 3 days. Some beautiful bread, some beautiful baked goods that a family can enjoy. And that was a great promotional aspect for that local business that was just starting out.
Yeah, and I guess it has to be a fair value exchange. So it's about thinking, what can we offer that particular business, and what can we offer their clients, customers, or patients, isn't it? And if you can offer them something, it's more likely that they'll probably entertain a conversation and possibly a JV agreement.
Exactly, definitely. It's definitely one of those things. And then it comes down to, again, as I mentioned before, do you know the target audience? With this particular car dealership, their cars were very much purchased by young families, young, busy families. And the way my client actually pitched it to that business, they said, we're all about making life easy and convenient for young families. And wouldn't it be nice that, when they pick up their car for the next day, they've got some beautiful baked produce that's gonna, they don't have to think about, oh, have I got the bread, have I got these other baked goods and some beautiful cakes and slices and all of that. And they're like, yeah, that would be something different, as opposed to just your standard chocolates that you would get when you buy a car. So that was of value to that organization and how they looked in the community as a result of partnering up with this startup business. So yeah,
and it's about being different, because like you say, usually they'll give you a bottle of wine or flowers or a keyring or something which is kind of expected. So it's not really a wow factor, is it? It's just the same stuff.
No, exactly. Yeah, and you want to think about how will they remember, because I remember my client saying to me, I think it was about 3 weeks into this campaign when we planned it out, and we said, we want to not only do we just want to give them the bread and the beautiful slices and the the little cupcakes and all of that and the muffins, we wanted the campaign was designed to actually get that person that bought the car to then engage obviously with this local bakery, right? That was our plan. So one of the things that I said to them, to the lady that ran it, I said, in the little, because it was like a little basket and it was all individually wrapped and packaged up, in there we put a little card that says, congratulations on your recent purchase, we hope you enjoy driving around, exploring the local area as you get used to your new car. If you're ever in the area and would love some fresh warm bread over the winter months, because the campaign was done in the lead up to winter, so it was 3 months before officially it was winter, they actually put in a voucher, and it said, over the next 3 months, whenever you're in store, just show this voucher and you'd get 10% off whatever you purchased. And it was incredible to see how many new customers they acquired because they had already enjoyed the product. And the fact that, for the next 3 months they could come in, connect with the business, they actually have become, ongoing clients as a result. So, the marketing campaign with that car dealership, that was a 3-month campaign. So for the first 3 months, this company gave them these little baskets for free, and it didn't cost the business too much. Every basket probably cost the actual business with the, with the bread and the slices and the muffins and the cakes, probably cost them, in terms of cost, I think it was about 23 Australian dollars. So it was not a lot per basket, but what they got, 3 months on, was a group of people that had come as families and that were purchasing on a weekly, fortnightly basis. And they had built a database of, I think, within that 3 months, they had acquired, I think it was about 40 new clients as a result of that. And they were using, the vouchers that were getting passed around and saying, oh, my friend mentioned that and this is what it is. And it was incredible to think, wow, okay, this is the power that lies in it. But also the word of mouth, their social media, obviously, followers grew, and Instagram, and people were like, oh yeah, I've heard this car dealership has got a deal with this local business, and people are talking about the beautiful fresh produce, but also the bargains that they get to score as a result of buying a car from there, which is very, very cool.
Yeah, and I guess a byproduct is lots of free word of mouth advertising and marketing, which is always great. Do you have any experience of direct response? If so, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, so we have had IT companies that have actually done direct response marketing campaigns. They have worked really well for IT companies. We also had a few people that, do like lawn mowing services and, plumbing services. So, those sort of businesses, direct marketing has worked really well for them in terms of crafting a message with a strong call to action. So one of the things that I say to people when you're doing a direct marketing campaign, it's really, really crucial for you to have a strong call to action so people know what they need to do, because sometimes, if we're not told what to do, we don't know, right? It's like, I knew today that, we were going to talk, so I knew I had to be on Skype. I was given clear instructions to be here on Skype. So often I say to people, you can have an amazing message, but if you don't tell them what they need to do to pick up the phone and call you or click on a website or, do this or show up to this location at this time, you lose the engagement point because people don't know where to from there. So with direct marketing, your call to action is crucial. And then it also being very clear, like click on this website or call this number or email this number. A bit like when you said before when we came back from the commercial break, you said, if you want to reach out and ask questions, here's the email address or here's the phone number and connect with us on WhatsApp. So people go, okay, I've got two options, either medium, email or WhatsApp, online, one of the two, and it's quite clear. So yeah, it's really, really important to have that.
You've obviously read lots of books over the many years that you've been in business. Well, what are your top 3 most favorite and influential books and why?
Okay, so I love Robert Kiyosaki. He wrote a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Really good concept of how one's mind works in terms of, emotionally how we make decisions and how that can impact us for life. So that would be one of my favorite books. And then Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. The first time I read it, it was a very heavy read. I'm gonna give it that. I actually went, whoa, that's a bit full on. And I thought, ooh, I'll come back to this a little later. And it took me, with all honesty, probably another 6 months before I picked up the book again. But reading that for the second time, there was a lot more perspective on really how our mindset plays a part regardless of our skills and regardless of our challenges, really, really important. And then the third book, if I was to share with you, would be a book called Extreme Ownership. It's by two authors. One author is Jocko Winklin, and the book is very much about how Navy SEALs lead teams. And it's a very different book because it's not a business book itself or a mindset book, but Extreme Ownership by Jocko is very much about how in life we need to have strong leadership skills and take ownership of things when things go wrong. So I think as business owners, or, I'm a mom to two kids, it's really, really important that if something goes wrong, we don't need to blame someone else. We step up as a leader and go, okay, did I not clearly communicate that, or did I not give enough information, and really own that maybe I made a mistake, rather than looking to go, oh, well, they were not listening and they didn't do this and they didn't follow instructions. Well, did I, from a leader's perspective, did I actually communicate that clearly? So those are my top three. Obviously read quite a few other books, but the three of them actually put things into perspective on how we can look at life from a mindset perspective, and then that impacts overall how we do things, from behaviors to emotionally being challenged to actually pursuing what it is that we want in our lives. So yeah, I would definitely say those are my top three.
Thank you very much for that. And if our listeners only wanted to read one of those books, which one would it be?
I would say, one book that is really easy to read is Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That is found on Amazon, whether that's a Kindle or a paperback. Jump and read that, because he as an author, he really takes readers through how he felt as a young boy, and how he was challenged and all of that. And it's a great read, but there's some really good practical stuff that, makes you think about, okay, how's this mindset serving me? How are these challenges that I'm experiencing going to help me upskill and become really determined to pursue things? So Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, a great read, and I would highly recommend it.
That's a good choice, Sam. It's a good book. I read that many years ago, and I've learnt many things, especially about money mindset and how to invest in the right things,
Yes.
as opposed to spending money all the time.
Yes. Definitely. I'm glad to hear, you've read the book. So, yeah, that's always good to, hear.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of personal development, apart from reading books, is there anything else that you do which you can share with our listeners?
Yeah, so in terms of personal development, I consciously like to meditate. I find that helps me stay grounded, and with being a mom to two kids, life can get a little bit hectic. My son's 5 and my daughter's 8, so they can be quite, would you want to do this? We want to do this, and obviously running a business as well. I found daily meditation really helps me on a personal level, stay really grounded, but also keep me calm and patient. Not there are moments when I go, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But overall, it is very much something that helps me grow as a person and keeps me balanced. So meditation, and I actually listen to guided meditations just on my phone. So I use some apps sometimes, throughout the day. If I've had a really busy day and I kind of want to wind down a little bit, I might just listen to like a 5 or a 10-minute guided meditation. Sit in the corner or sit on the couch. And I'll just put my headphones on and listen to it, and it really helps. I've found over the years of meditation, it has really helped me on a personal level be quite calm and collected, but also give life a whole new perspective.
I think we've got the next book for you, which is How to Be a Great Mom Whilst Meditating, Marketing and Making Money.
Well, I think you have got the tagline and the title sorted for me. I might just have to follow through on that.
And then you can send me a copy of your book, and I'll be delighted to read it.
That's it, exactly. I'll personally sign it and send it across, and then you can go, oh, well, there we go. That conversation led on to that.
Yeah. I've got some questions from our listeners.
Yes.
One of the questions is, what are the few things that you have learned as a business owner that have served you well over the years?
Okay. a few things that I've learned along the way is, I think I mentioned before, it's really, really important to surround yourself with the right people and have a mentor, so you eliminate making far more mistakes than you should. In that first few years, I think looking back now, I'm like, if I had a mentor right from the beginning, I probably would have saved myself a good 6 months of challenges and learning and, falling down so quickly. So definitely mentors, but also really take the time to look at how you're tracking in business. So meaning, what's coming up for you in terms of financially, how is the business progressing, and also then looking at your marketing strategy. So really be consciously aware of these things rather than kind of going, oh, I love what I do, I'm going to keep doing kind of things a bit blindly. It's really, really important to, as I say, know your numbers and know your strategies and keep a check on that so you don't lose focus of that, because that's important. Your numbers are really important because that's the sustainability of the business. And, as I mentioned before with Robert Kiyosaki, he always mentions, cash flow is king. So you want to stay on top of your finances in your business.
As you mentioned before, and you just recently mentioned, having a mentor was an important part to progress your business. Why was it important to have a mentor?
Okay, so when over the 6 years, I have had 5 mentors now. And one thing that I look back with every single mentor is they have actually made more mistakes than I have. So they are able to tell me, Samantha, don't make that move. That could possibly encounter that. So less mistakes and you achieve a goal or an outcome a lot faster because they have been there, done that, and you're following their steps and their guidance. So look, having a mentor, you still make mistakes. I'm going to say that out publicly because, they can't predict every move. But they eliminate the amount of mistakes and the time taken to reach a goal. And that has been crucial because when I look back, the first 12 months, the first 9 months, very much, I made so many ridiculous mistakes. I did things purely based on emotions rather than strategy. And when I got my first mentor and he asked me, he said, so why did you do that? Why did you sign up to that? And why did you decide to do that marketing? I was like, when I spoke to that person, they said it was a good idea. And he's like, and what did you think? I was like, I don't know. I thought it was a good idea. He's like, so you didn't do any prior research? And I'm like, no, I didn't think about that. Should I? And he goes, of course. And then obviously when I started working with him, every time I asked him, he's like, let's look at the research. Let's look at how that's going to tie in with you. And I went, oh, that's what you do. It was incredible. And I was like, oh my goodness. Okay, so 3 or 4 really bad moves because I didn't know that. Now I do. So I think about it, for about an hour, strategize and then make a decision over 2 to 3 days. And there's less things going wrong. I'm like, perfect. So.
That's brilliant advice there. We're in the last minute of our show. There's a question from our listeners.
Yeah.
Excluding yours, what company or business do you admire the most and why?
Absolutely. If I was to mention someone, I think it would be Apple. I really love how Apple has really looked at the end user, whether that's through the iPhones or their products and services. One thing that a lot of people would agree is when you think of Apple, we kind of know that they are always innovating something new, and we can not predict, but we can kind of forecast and go, we know that a new phone's going to come out, and they're always looking to give the end user multiple different interfaces. So it's like the first, there were computers, then the iPhone, and then now there's the Apple Watch and all this. So they're really helping users.
Thank you, Sam. We're just coming to the end of our show. You've been brilliant. Yeah. Please join us again for next week on the Empower Hour every Tuesday at 7 o'clock. Thank you.
That's all right. Thank you for having me.
Your number one for local, national and international